don't even know what this video would be. I was gonna do a quarterly wrap up of all the books I read from August to November, because I didn't review those on here. Then I realized that's like way too many books to do, and that video would be like an insanely long video, and I would just be like rambling and talking for forever. And then I was gonna do a best books that I've read this year, but I realized that takes insane amount of planning, and I actually have to sit down to plan it. And then I kind of feel like I just want to yap, so I was like, maybe I'll just turn on my camera and yap. What I should be doing is a November wrap up. So I think that's what we're gonna do. And I'm just gonna yap about the books I read in November, because they're already out here, because I just filmed my video for TikTok, so they're already here. These ones can go away, because these ones were the one I was gonna take out for my quarterly, that I ambitiously thought I could do a quarterly wrap up of all the books I read from August to November, which, like, in what world? I think I just need to be better at staying on top of my shit. Like, anyway. So, starting it off strong. These are all the books that I have that I read in November. I only have 3. I read 5 total. 2 were on audio? No, 1 was on audio and 1 was a digital arc. But yeah, so here they are, little thumbnail action. I don't know, I'll take it after. Yeah, I'm not like good at YouTube content, but I actually am really good at yapping. I figured out I could talk for hours, you know, so that's what we're gonna do. Starting off strong, I read the Lady of Darkness series. This is the signed edition I got from Books, Gowns of Crowns. Let me show it to you. It's signed. I actually met Melissa. I was her author, assigned to her author table to manage her line, and she's like so sweet. And I had her put one aside for me so that they wouldn't all get bought. But yeah, she's so sweet, and I was so excited to start this series because I've like heard about it for forever, and I actually had downloaded it on my Kindle right before I left for Books, Gowns, and Crowns, but I literally, like, my brain was fried getting on the plane, and I thought I was gonna like read it on the flight over, and then I got on the flight and I was like, as if I'm gonna sleep instead. But yeah, so I literally devoured this in what, like 2 days, I feel like. Let me look to see what I put on. 3 days I read this. So good. I did listen to this on audio. I half read it, half listened to it on audio. Amazing. Some of the plot points I feel like were a little bit predictable, but I like still loved them. And I feel like a lot of people say like, oh, it's very similar to like Sarah J. Maas's books or like some of the other fantasy series. And I'm like, who the fuck cares? It's good. And I literally am eating it up. I'm already on Lady of Shadows, and I like started it this morning and I'm already on page 100. Like, it's definitely going to be one of those fixation series where I just read all of them. Like, I already have them all on my shelf to read. So it doesn't matter to me if you think they're similar to other series, because if I can just get lost and disappear in it, that's fine to me. Oh, then I listened to an audio arc of The Lost God, which the series is already out on, I think it's on Kindle Unlimited. But this was like an audio arc for the audiobook, and it was so good. First of all, the narrators, it was like a trio of narrators, and they just like went really well together. Typically, I like don't like appreciate, I guess you could say, the narrators, because I listen to audiobooks on such a high speed. But since it was an audio arc, I like slowed it down to a normal person speed. And they just did like such a good job. Like their voices went really well together, I guess you could say. The magic system was like really unique. It's based on like the main character, it's based on like Cecilia is a memory witch, and so her power is kind of based on like accessing memories of like previous witches and gods and stuff. And even though I like kind of found the plot a little bit predictable, there was still like a twist that I didn't see coming, and like the events that that unfolded after, I'd say like 50% were like, I didn't see that was coming at all. So, also, like, if you looked at this cover, I would not think that this book was spicy. I picked it up and didn't think it was spicy. I thought like maybe like, obviously I knew it wasn't like YA, so like I thought like maybe it would have like a little bit of spice. Full spice, like full scene spice. And even like the tension of the characters, like there was one scene where they're like riding away from like pursuers, and they're like on the horse, like it's like two people on one horse, obviously, and everybody loves that trope. And she turns around on the horse to like shoot arrows at the pursuants, and so she's like facing him on the horse. And for some reason that part, I was like, okay girl, like all right, like that's obviously not spice, it's just like tension. But I was like, damn. But I immediately requested the next book in the series, which is The Memory Curse, and they just approved my arc yesterday, so I'm gonna be listening to that immediately. Then I read Murder Road. This book, so often when I am in a slump, I like just go to my library and I'll just like walk around until something catches my eye. And I try and like, if I'm super in a slump, I will go into the new materials room, but I try to stay out of the new materials room because it's like, those books are super, I feel like they're like, not that they're not good, but I feel like they can be super hyped up on the book talk, booktube community. And then as if you're like hearing a lot of other people's opinions, you may like get let down by like not feeling the same as their opinions. So I tend to stay out in the new materials room if I'm in a slump. So this one, I literally was looking at thrillers, like I typed it online, like best thrillers to read, and this came up, but I couldn't find it like on the shelf because it's like Simone St. James. I kept looking on the shelves in the S's, and then I looked on the J's, and I couldn't find it. And then I finally found it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna read this book because it said online best thrillers, and like it's newer, but it's not like super new. But it actually did come out this year, or my library got it this year, but it wasn't in the new materials room. So I get it, I come home, and that day they released the Goodreads Choice Awards, and this is in the thriller category. So I'm like, okay, it's probably good. It was 5 stars. It was really good. It's like a combination of kind of like ghost story and thriller. It's about this couple that are like on their honeymoon. They don't have a lot of money, so they're just going to like a motel to kind of like chill for their honeymoon. And they find themselves on like a deserted road, and there's a hitchhiker, so they like pick her up. They're like, whatever, like we'll just pick her up. This is like a just desolate road. She shouldn't be out here anyway. So they pick her up. She gets in their car, and they're driving, and then they turn. She like says something, and they turn around, or the wife turns around, not the husband, he's driving. And she notices that like her jacket's open and she's been stabbed. And they're like, okay, well, how did we not notice that before? But so they take her to the hospital and drop her off. But of course, then the police think they stabbed her. So then they find themselves like accused of this woman's murder while they're on their honeymoon. But then, it becomes like, we can't just leave this place. We have to solve this woman's murder. So it was very good. But yeah, I love a good thriller, but I like it to have like certain things. And I feel like this book had all the things I was looking for, like in terms of like narration, back plot, like stuff that happened like before you get to the story, like the characters' histories, but also like not too much of it where it's like, all right, I don't care about that. But and then like plot twists obviously needs to have those. Oh, then I read Myths of Ophelia, the 4th book in the Curse of Ophelia series. I give this a 3.75. I just switched to Fable at this point, so now I'm giving like point ratings. I like this series a lot. This one was my favorite. I'm definitely continuing the series. I think after Breaker, which is the novella that comes right before this one, Nicole seems to be focusing like a lot on like other characters as well as the main characters, but for me that's just like not something I super like love, as opposed to focusing on the main plot. And the plot was good in this book, but it didn't ramp up until like, I'd say like 70 or 80%. And if I just say like, if I wasn't reading it as an arc, I probably would have DNF'd it. Just because of like how slow it was in the beginning. But I still like the series and I probably will continue it. I actually also thought that this was the last book in the series for some reason, but I think there's one more. Obviously there's one more. I think it was left on a cliffhanger ending. But yeah, I think the pacing in the beginning was just like a little bit too slow for me, because it was focusing on like some of the relationships, and I was like, all right, I feel like we should be getting more into the story. Oh my god, I'm getting like an eye twitch. And then I ended on kind of a lower note. Heads Will Roll, by Josh Winning. Another camp horror. I didn't read another camp horror this one. No. Thinking of before. Well, another camp horror for me. I love a good camp horror. I think they're like, if you're gonna read horror, you gotta read camp horror. I guess this is technically in the, yeah, they call it a thriller, I guess, not horror, but so I guess it's camp thriller, but maybe that's why I didn't like it. But yeah, I did not like it. I liked the idea of it. It's about like a celebrity who goes to this camp, and it's like a all off the grid camp, like turn in your cell phones, like cut yourself off from the real world type of camp, and all the people there are trying to like escape something. So she's like a canceled celebrity, Willow, and she's trying to get away from like all the stuff that she's just been canceled from, and like kind of reset her life. But it did feel, obviously there's a axe wielding killer on the loose, and it did feel just a little bit repetitive in the plot. And then the ending was just kind of like, okay, like, I don't know. I felt like it could have been like better. Like if I was to rewrite a book of the ones I read this month, it would be this one. But yeah, I think overall a better November than I had last year when I read Iron Flame and wanted to rip my hair out. But yeah, looking forward to the end of the year. I still have, so my reading goal is 75. I think I'm currently at 66. So I still have, what is that? 8 books left? 9 books left. And I just don't think I'm gonna finish it. Because let me think about it. Memory Curse, Lady of Shadows, I'm definitely reading. Blood Over Brighthaven, I think I'm definitely reading. And then if I finish the rest of the Lady of Darkness series, that's Lady of Ashes, Lady of Embers, Lady of Starfire, and that leaves 3 other books to read. What would they be? I guess I just leave that open-ended because I guess I want to read Throne of Secrets, I think. Foxglove, maybe? An Ember in the Ashes, possibly. There are so many other books that like have been on my TBR all year and like never even gotten close. Like, what's one? Shoot, what is it? Oh, If We Were Villains. Every time I made a TBR pile for TikTok this year, I feel like every single month If We Were Villains was on it, and I never picked it up. And the thing is, I have the audiobook on Hoopla, so like I could just listen to the audiobook, but I don't. I can't help it. But yeah, that was November. I am not going to do a quarterly wrap up. I hope to do a yearly wrap up, possibly maybe in the early of next year, because that just makes more sense. I'll do a December and then I'll do a yearly best books, maybe. Keep it low, like 5 books. And then not do a goals, because what were my goals last year? I didn't want to buy a lot of books, and I did end up buying a lot of books. I did end up meeting new book friends. I did end up going to more book events. So I did actually meet a lot of those goals. What was my other goal? Go to the library more. I did do that. I don't remember what the last goal was. I feel like there was one more. Let me know. You guys know. I don't know. All right. I'm gonna try and edit this on my phone so I can just upload it